it's been such a long journey for us, and I think for the technology itself, that we are here today and we are able to have so much representation, so much diversity, right, in the space of blockchain. And I'm really excited to be hosting this panel. Just to set a little bit of context in this panel, we have Varsha, who Chitra has already introduced, who will be talking to us a little bit about the role of government, which is playing a very pivotal role in the space of blockchain, especially in the Indian context. A lot of governments are stepping up, doing a lot of projects and trying to make a lot of things come under the decentralization umbrella, right? So she'll be shedding some light on that, and post that I will have a tete-a-tete with Kanika and Sangamitra and just talk to them about what has their career been in blockchain like, what has their path been, and what are some of the what is their secret sauce, that they have used to kind of reach here. So that's how we are going to roll. And over to Varsha to just take us through a little bit, give us some context into what is the role of blockchain, what is happening in this space, and just we are really excited to have you, Varsha. So over to you.
Again, and thanks, Chitra, as well. So I picked up a particular aspect, government as a driving factor for blockchain, because I was also told that many of you might have already attended some session on blockchain or the other through either this Women Who Code forum or through something else. I'm sure you must have heard about it, and things like when we talk about blockchain, we think about Bitcoin first, or Genesis block, or R3 Coda, and mathematical algorithms and stuff like that. Difficult things, right? And then a whole lot of use cases. I'm sure you all must have heard about it, but something related to how do we see the future of blockchain, and who could be really the driving factor in making blockchain use cases really successful. That was coming to my mind, and I then picked up government, and then no better month, right? 15th August is approaching, so the patriotic feelings are there. So I thought that let's talk about government of India, what we, especially when it comes to new technologies, we look right, and to the west coast of the US, right? We look at Google and Amazon and the techie companies, right? Digital native companies. But this is little different conversation. And then I thought, let me talk about what governments are doing, and especially government of India is doing in this field. You must be wondering actually what Panchatattva story is doing here. It's I am not going to tell the story. Everyone, I suppose, knows the story. It's a monkey sitting in between. These two cats fighting over butter, and then the monkey finally walks away with the entire butter, and then these two poor cats get nothing. That's the story. And then this monkey represents the authority. When there are conflicts, when people don't know each other, people can't trust each other, then the natural choice, that's how it thousands of years, right? There has to be some central authority. That central authority could be government, could be bank, could be some intermediary or somebody, right? And then we, rather than trusting each other, we think that, okay, that authority will solve that problem, all sort of problems. And then, unfortunately, it doesn't turn out that way. That authority, sometimes, yes, it helps, and many times it does not. So talking about India, and I'm not here to talk about authorities are corrupt, etc. It is, the absolute power corrupts absolutely. Somebody has said that, something like that. And then that is what this blockchain is challenging, right? And the words, those are written there: distributed, decentralized, tokenized, encrypted, immutable, and all of those. I think you must have come across that. But the most appealing and useful feature, if you ask me honestly, this is the removing of intermediary, right? That is the most important aspect of blockchain, which is very appealing to me and for country like India, right? And then as practitioners and as women who code, all of us, right? it is important to also look at the opportunity, and Sanghamitra, Kanika will talk about that more. But in number, and these numbers are, by the way, World Economic Forum given numbers. About $3 trillion US dollar opportunity is waiting for us. And by the way, if I tell you numbers in context, there are not more than 10,000 women, men, in fact, people, right, blockchain coders that are out there in the entire world. 10,000 is just that. So that is the potential, right? That is the potential. There is a huge potential of growth. And if I just compare this number with Java coders, there are millions. ABAP coders, there are millions of coders, and this number is still in thousands, the blockchain coders. So that's our potential. We'll talk about why. If we can go to the next slide, slide number 4, Chitra. Right. So again, this is again one way of learning about what government of India is doing. And by the way, I have to thank Amitabh Kant, who is CEO of Niti Aayog. Niti Aayog is, by the way, a think tank for the strategic thinking for India. All strategic initiatives are thought through by Niti Aayog. Amitabh Kant is the CEO, and one of the many things is also blockchain. And then it's not like the paper as such, the position paper and referring to is published this year in 2020. The work has been, the foundational work has been happening for more than 5 years now, right? And government on one hand, and Indian ecosystem of startups on the other hand, they have been working on this concept, what makes sense, right? What makes sense. And contrary to a may not have that infrastructure, the digital infrastructure. Contrary to that belief, actually we are much better off even compared to the advanced countries. That's a good news, right? And then the team went ahead, and along with McKinsey was the consulting partner for Government of India for pulling some analytical data in terms of what would make sense for India in terms of blockchain use cases, right? And these are the 4. And you can see a lot of movie clippings over there, movie posters over there. These are the exact 4 things. Those are identified. And the most advanced here is the 4th one, the land registry. You can see the picture there, Khosla Ka Ghosla. I'm sure you must have watched that movie, fantastic movie. If you are Netflixing, and all of us these days do it more frequently than other times because of COVID. Gulabo, Sitabo, apart from the fantastic acting talent that is displayed there by Mr. Amitabh Bachchan and Ayushmann Khurrana, the plot was, there is a plot of land, and then the title, the land title is not clear, and it is the whole drama around that. Khosla Ka Ghosla is also about that. And they fight against government and the difficult land records and plot. But basically, we have to, on a serious note, what we have to understand in the context of India is about 75% of our civil cases. By the way, I'm lawyer also, half lawyer, so I know that about 75% of our civil cases are associated with the land, dispute of land, and that's why this makes perfect sense. And this is another interesting observation. So land is extremely expensive in city like Mumbai, all cities, but Mumbai is costlier than New York. But that's not where we found the use case. It is interesting that a Union Territory of Chhattisgarh finds that place, because the whole thing that are, it's not about just creating a blockchain solution. You have to get your Genesis block or your land records very cleansed, and that is a troublesome. That's a painstakingly difficult task, and Union Territory of Chhattisgarh did that. They cleaned all their land records to an extent that every piece of land now has unique ID, and every unique ID is now connected to unique owner. So that is cleansing of record. That is also essential to in any blockchain. Otherwise, it's garbage in, garbage out, right? So transfer of land, the first and foremost, and progress very well. And government of Telangana is also taking the same strides. And let's see the results from these one state and one union territory. Second interesting, I may not have time to talk about a whole lot of all other cases, but you can see Munna Bhai MBBS. I think you all must have watched Munna Bhai MBBS, both movies. Suits, again, Netflixing, you must have watched all 10 seasons, 9 seasons in fact, and 10th is, I think, coming. And it's about, this person faking Harvard law degree, and the whole 10 seasons are revolving around that, So it is important that if your lawyer is faking, that's okay. But if your doctor is faking, problem, Munna is, right? University certificate, important topic. Second important use case has progressed very well. IIT Mumbai is on it now, and let us see. So these are, by the way, POCs, okay, and they are very, the whole thing I want to share right now. Let us see the results. They are scaling up gradually. Then the government subsidy verification or claim on the government subsidy, the whole chain of value. So anything which is changing hands and is of value, blockchain is good case for that. I call it like internet of value rather than all those cryptic words, right? And GNFC, Gujarat Narmada Fertilizers, has successfully implemented, and so is pharma. Track and trace is the case with multiple other. It's not just government, but multiple other startups also. It's very appealing. Appealing use case of a blockchain. Now, people may also wonder. You may also wonder: is India really ready? Because in terms of our infrastructure, when it comes to bridges and roads, we are worse, right? And in terms of our international ranking on all these logistic front, in terms of ease of doing business, in 190 countries, we are somewhere in 163, 165. It's all bad, right? But hey, here is the good news. In terms of your information superhighway, and there's a whole lot of infrastructure that is required for your digital India, right? And when I was at FICCI, I was very, very surprised, pleasantly surprised to know from other speakers that there was a question. Do you know platforms which have more than 1 billion subscribers? And people spoke about Google and Facebook and all those companies. And then we forgot our own humble Aadhaar. By the way, it is 1.2 billion, and maybe children who are born this month are not there on Aadhaar. So that's the power of Aadhaar. So for blockchain, you require identification of people, the authentication and identification, and that's a prereq. And that one of the pillars is already there, right? Second is, as I was saying, that it is internet of value. Value is getting exchanged, and it's not barter, by the way, all the time. Sometimes you have to exchange money. You need infrastructure for exchanging your money also, right? And your UPI, your unified payment. And by the way, when we say Google Pay and Paytm and whatever, it is actually riding on UPI. You may not be knowing it, but it is important to know that it is actually riding on UPI. And that's how the payments are happening. So this is just to understand the scale, the scale of this UPI. There are about 1.3 billion transactions happened in just 1 month. And these are like only increasing. So it's important. It is great to feel that India has done it already. Then there are two other enablers out there. I don't think I have time to explain much about that. So the gist is, or the message here is, my dear ladies, is all about government blockchains are important. It's not just, by the way, Indian government of Singapore, government of Dubai, government of Estonia. By the way, I had heard the name of the country, almost fallen off the map, right? I heard the name for the first time when they were the sponsors in FICCI event. And this spoke about their blockchain focus and experience, right? So the governments all over the world are doing it. In fact, Singapore government for the university POC was done with Accenture. So that's how I know about it. NSW, New South Wales Department of Education and Communities, Australia, is yet another couple of $1 billion they are planning to spend on the concept of digitization, and blockchain being one of those, right? So government is that's one thing, and second is when it comes to Indian government, guys, we are ready. So that's, and for very unique, useful use cases that are planned by NITI Aayog. Let's see, and then the paper 2, the position paper part 2 is going to come up in a couple of months. I'll share some links. Maybe those will be useful. Maybe you can hop on to the slide number 6, Chitra. Right. So this was what I was talking about, etc. So we spoke about that. So next slide is about little segue. I mean, it's very tiny, but yeah, I think I will hand it over back to Gyan. I am talking about some career options there. So this is a chart. I believe this PPT will be shared, so people can go through it later on also. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Varsha. I think you made some really amazing and valid points, especially considering the fact that governments are actively looking for contributions in the form of developers, in the form of evangelists, who are willing to contribute to the ecosystem by with the help of their technical knowledge. So that's definitely a great place to start for anyone who's looking to wet their feet in the space of blockchain. We also have a government blockchain association, which is a non-profit, and we as Women Who Code collaborate on a lot of events with them, and they are always asking me, do you know of any female developers who can come in and help us? So there's a lot of scope in terms of learning. It's a huge learning curve because this technology is relatively new, and as Varsha put very rightly, it's a technology, it's going to be the internet of value, right? It's going to give it's going to be able to change the way people think of how internet works, or of how networking, how everybody chats with each other, how payments are made across the globe, right? There's going to be so much change in all the different ways things have been functioning so far. And I think this is a great segue for us to understand now. So if you want to work on those exciting projects, right, those projects like moving the land records in Estonia to blockchain, or being able to create digital identity, self-sovereign identity in a country like Sweden, right, all of these sponsored projects. In fact, the Telangana government and Kerala government have their own blockchain academies which are actively functioning. So now the segue is all about, if you want to reach there, then how, right? What are the possible career opportunities that are out there, and how are the different women, as we see today on screen, how are they making this happen? So let's get to know from the horse's mouth, right? Women who are here with us, as to how has their experience been. And I just want to kickstart and try to want to understand as to how each of your journeys into your blockchain career has been. Like, where did you start, where are you now, and just a little bit of context into what you're doing in the space of blockchain as of today. So Kanika, if you want to go first, then please feel free. And Chitra, you can start. Okay.
Thanks, Ken. So I have around 9 years of experience, and out of which, like, I was 6 years into Java development. That's how my career is. But actually, it was a blessing in disguise. You move into one project to other, and my manager calls me up and says, you have to work on blockchain. And trust me, like 2016, I was like totally not aware of what he is doing and whatnot. And that's when the journey started, and there were some the bumpy rides. Like initially the technology will not get much of the details and all that, and moving to Accenture, that is like something which has really taken it to the next level, completely on blockchain, working day in day out with blockchain. So that has been the real excitement. So for me, the journey wise, it's like, yeah, just I explored what was coming to my way. and it has been really good.
That's awesome, Kanika. It's really great to know you come from a development, have been working on legacy languages like Java, but have been able to transition and move to blockchain technology, right? So, for all those out there who actually want to switch or want to try something new, it's not that difficult after all, right? So, that's really great to know. And Sangamitra would just like to understand what has your blockchain journey been so far.
Yeah. Hi. So for me as well, it was a blessing, if I would say, because I was saturated with my older project. It was on Java, and it was just a normal client project wherein you just do a small modification and that's all. And then at that point, I remember I was saturated and I just wanted something new, something fresh. And then Accenture happened, and I had option of choosing between blockchain and an FS client, but I chose blockchain because in 2018 we had some idea about blockchain, unlike 2016. So it was there and it was just waiting for me. So I just took that opportunity, and frankly, to be in this space with a leader like Accenture, it's really a blessing, because the type of opportunity that I got, it was just fulfilling for me, because I can do anything right now. I have a Java background. I can go into development side. I can move into the cloud space. I can move into the architecture side. So opportunities are enormous. And given the fact that Accenture is a leader, so it was a blessing for me. And frankly, if I am not from an IT or CS background, I am from an EC background. So if I can manage, something in blockchain, then anyone can. That's only my take on it. Yeah.
That's awesome, Sangamitra. In fact, I am really surprised to know that you do not come from a CS background, because it's been such a myth buster, whatever you have spoken about, right? That only folks who have extensive CS knowledge or have expertise in computer science, blockchain, because it's a relatively difficult technology, etc., right? But I think you're being such a great myth buster at this point, and that's really awesome to know, right? Like, so everybody else who's been from different fields, in fact, whichever field you are in, there is definitely a scope for you in the space of blockchain. I think that's such an amazing message that you have conveyed. Just to shed a little bit more light on what you might be specifically working on blockchain, right? My next question is around if you can talk about either a project that you're working on, or some of the projects that you have worked on in the past, right? So if you can talk about those and shed some light, both of you. Maybe I'll start with Sangamitra this time. And if you have any confidential details, like I can completely understand, but if you can just give us an overview of what you're doing, what are the technologies that you're using, that would be awesome.
Okay, so right now I am working on a global leaders supply chain use case, wherein we are basically, it's a track and trace use case, and it's a production level. We'll be going live in mid of September, and that's just the phase 1. We have phase 2 planned in January 2021. So in this, we are actually using Azure blockchain service, that's the PaaS, and Solidity on the blockchain end. And that is where I'm involved at all the 3 levels, be it on the Azure side, be it on the middleware. That is where all the dApps are being created, applications, distributed applications, and then on the backend side, that is on the Solidity. So right now, yeah, so I have been involved in this project for last, I would say 10 to 11 months. And prior to this, I was involved in an open source product, which I and Kanika both were involved in it, which is an Accenture's blockchain automation framework. And that is non-confidential since it's an open source, so we can talk about that as well. So that is where, if you want to just speed up your blockchain deployment, we have blockchain automation framework, and it's under umbrella of Hyperledger. So that is something very interesting that we got to work on. And yeah, we have various pilots. So we have moved from the POC phase, I would say. We are into pilots and projects right now. So we have a few of them lined up. But yeah, currently the biggest one is this track and trace. And so majority of it, major of the projects lie on the banking side or on the supply chain use case as of now. We do have other use cases where in insurance and pharma, but major of the project which I got to work on were on the track and trace use cases.
That's great, Sanghamitra. Kanika, would you like to share a little bit about some of the projects that you might be working on? I know that Sanghamitra already mentioned the open source project that under the Hyperledger umbrella that you both work together. So if there's something specific that you would like to add on, please feel free to.
So I'm working on pharma supply chain as well. So it is like track and trace of medicines, which is for one of the leading companies in Japan. So it's like, as Sanghamitra said, the career-wise, it's expanding everywhere. Like it's not just you're in blockchain space. You need to work on each bit and piece. You will not be given only the opportunities in development, and that's the beauty of it. You work on the architecture, you work on cloud, you work on DevOps. So I am working. I would say like starting from the infrastructure to even the testing. So everything goes hand in hand, and you are just on the way. You are learning and you're exploring it every day. So before this, I was working on supply chain finance, where we used to do invoice management and doing basically the money oriented work over there. So that's what was my previous project. And then Sanghamitra mentioned as correctly, like the open source work. So it has been really nice, a lot of things to learn. Every day is something challenging coming on your way. With the limited knowledge, people come in and we are learning and we are exploring, I would say.
Awesome. That's such a great way to put it, Kanika, because this technology, as we see, is exponentially and rapidly increasing. And as Sanghamitra also mentioned, I think we are past the phase where we just talk about POCs. We are now piloting the projects, we are putting them into production, and we are able to see the results, right, in the form of these different projects that you're working on, specifically, like you mentioned, a lot of use cases in the supply chain as well as the banking industries, right? So we are seeing projects actually come to life, and people using that, maybe sometimes having the knowledge that blockchain is actually present in the underlying infrastructure. So that's really great to hear some of your projects. I think it sheds light on the fact that there are a lot of projects available. There's a lot of development effort that is going on, and this gives you a path to explore and learn as you go, right? Like we are no more in the I-shaped learning model anymore. We are all becoming T-shaped, right? We need to know how to test, how to develop, how to give an end-to-end solution. So these were some really great points. And in the interest of time, maybe I'd just like to throw in one last question in the mix, and we can wrap up with that. My one last question to you is actually a two-part question. One is maybe if you could just give one pro tip to everybody as to what is the secret of blockchain, right? What are some of the skills or qualities that they would like to have, right? So one pro tip on that, and just close in maybe with a resource that you will encourage the audience to look upon. It could be a course, a link they can go and look at, read up, or something, whatever that has helped you kickstart your journey, right? Wherever you've been. So Kanika, since you're already, I have already pinned you and enlarged you on my screen, so you can go first.
Yeah. So I would say for blockchain, be dynamic, be agile, and learn like how to explore, because this technology is changing every day. Like there are hundreds of platforms now. Like we used to talk about only Bitcoin. So that's what is driving us. Number of platforms. Just be ready to learn. That's it. And a lot of documentation, like just get your basics correct. Again, that's what you asked, like what you have to go through. So I would just say get your basics correct, get your algos correct, and that's it. That will take you. So the technology doesn't change, the underlying architecture remains the same. It's only the word has changed. So I would say just look for basics. That's it, and that is what has helped us.
Thank you, guys. And any courses or take, or do you think there's enough open source material that you can just go on and
there
look at?
are some good courses on Pluralsight, like Introduction to Blockchain. Even Udemy has one of the good courses. And then what I would suggest is once you have your basics right for blockchain, you understand the concepts, picking up one of the platforms like Hyperledger Fabric or Corda, which two are very leading platforms. And then narrowing down the scope that okay, this is what yours be. And then once you understand the platform, taking next level with your cloud, understanding Azure or AWS, because this technology distributed, you have to build up clusters. So that is what I see that you should be learning. This is the way we can go ahead.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Kanika. Sanghamitra, if you have anything to add, and then we can just have Chitra back to the closing.
No, so Kanika covered all. I would just add, like, you need to be committed to whatever task you pick up, be it at the time of learning what the blockchain is, because sometimes you tend to lose focus if you are not, much passionate about it. So that is where you need to identify if you really want to go ahead or not. But then if you have identified your passion, you should be committed to it. Just deep dive into the technology, because you have a huge amount of opportunities waiting for you. Get started as soon as possible, and so be open for the opportunities. Learn to say yes to anything that comes to your way. That's the only advice I could say.
Awesome. Thanks a lot, Sanghamitra. And I think that was such a perfect, closing statement for what we have been talking about today, for what we represent today, right? We can't just survive with what we know so far and expect to, exponentially climb the ladder. We need to be able to learn or be able to willing to learn every step of the way, right? We have a lot of resources, as both of you have mentioned. There are a lot of projects that you can work on hands-on, but everything is possible. And in order to have a successful career, I think not just in the space of blockchain, but in any emerging technology, you need to be willing to learn every step of the way. And that was such a beautiful way to kind of wrap this up, Sanghamitra. Thanks a lot, all the panelists, and it was such a pleasure interacting with you today. There are actually a couple of questions that have coming in on the chat, but in the interest of time, because I want to close at 1:15, we are already over a little bit. In the interest of time, I will be sending you all of these questions, perhaps over email, and if you would like to take it. Also, please feel free to put in your the way folks can reach you to connect with you, your IDs, your LinkedIn IDs, or your Twitter IDs, whatever you prefer, right? And we can go from there. So Chitra, over to you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Nyan. And it was a great session. Thanks to Varsha. The insights and the projects you were talking were very exciting, and it just created a great passion in me to explore more on blockchain. And Sanghamitra and Kanika, you guys have just set the path and incited the fire in every one of us to explore this field. And viewers, I hope this session was very helpful for you. And we close the session. See you guys in another sessions. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for the opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Everyone.